Hi, this voiceover was recorded after most of my initial editing was done. I wanted to clarify a couple of things. When writing the script for this and recording the voiceover, I didn't realize how arrogant I sounded, and also, I didn't realize how negative I seemed towards self-improvement YouTubers. That will make sense within the first half of this video, and I did have those little snippets on screen that further explained my reasons, but I figured I needed to properly clear it up via a voiceover. When I mentioned becoming a self-improvement YouTuber as a bad business idea, I mean in the sense that I see people straight up copying what's already done. It's no different from any other business venture. If your business is just a wish version slash bootleg version of what someone else has already done, then you're in direct competition with them, and they're better at this than you are as they've had time on their side. It's the same as opening a Chinese restaurant next door to an established Chinese restaurant, and you serve the exact same food as the original Chinese restaurant. What makes your business different? Nothing, really. However, if you have different foods or a different dining experience than the already established restaurant, then that's what makes your business different, despite being in the same niche. Same thing with the self-improvement thing. I sub to a lot of other channels that talk about self-improvement and their own spin on things. When I diss self-improvement channels as a business idea, I mean, if you are literally copying what's already been done and said. I elaborate more in my original script that you'll hear in a few minutes. As for me sounding arrogant, I talk about my channel and its unique spin on self-improvement within the same topic as what I just mentioned. I come across as talking about how great my channel is, and I didn't mean for it to come across this way. I was just trying to talk about how my channel has its own unique spin on things. But it comes across as gloaty. Oh, look at me. I actually know how the financial system works. Look at me. I actually understand human anatomy and have a much more detailed diet than everyone else you see. Oh, look, I actually graduated uni and have a good career, unlike these guys who never even got into the field and are just telling you to study hard despite them never having done it themselves. That's how one may interpret what I am saying when I go into talking about my channel slash brand, but that wasn't my intention. So, just so we're clear, I was just trying to portray my unique spin on things, not how I'm so much smarter and harder working than everyone else just sitting in front of a microphone giving generic motivational spiels. So with that disclaimer out of the way, let's jump into part 3 of my investment reaction series. This is the last reaction. Part 4 and 5 go into examples and figures of each type of investment, the possible returns, pros and cons, likelihood of success, etc. Let's begin. This video is part 3 of my Is Investing Useless? Am I Wrong About Investing series. I will be reacting to comments made from Dan Koh, Denmo, and Jack Duffley regarding investing in this video. So let's start with Dan Koh.
This is probably the best skill you can ever form in life, is just questioning everything, especially in business, because everyone's giving out all of this advice that people take as law, and then they don't see results, and then they call it a scam.
That's what I'm talking about in terms of not paying for one-on-one coaching and taking various viewpoints and constructing your own ideas and testing them. It's also what I'm talking about in terms of listening to all the self-improvement channels talking about their business, but their business is talking about self-improvement, and their idea of starting your own business is starting your own self-improvement YouTube channel. I've seen plenty of other channels recommended to me when I was constantly watching First Man and Hamza. I liked the videos and subbed to support the boys, but I'd comb through their channels and I didn't find anything that was unique or different to the other 10 channels I was recommended. I just didn't see the long-term growth in that type of content. So, what does this have to do with investing? Because these guys talk about investing in terms of investing in a business, and their idea of a business is just talking about self-improvement or selling courses. Making decent money in that stuff is only possible if you have a large brand slash audience, which is why one of my stats is called online brand or brand and not business. Grow an audience, and that's when your actual business will grow. Now, side note, I am very against paying for courses for the most part, as I mentioned in part 1 of this little series, unless they can get you some specific accreditation you can then put on your resume. For example, there are Microsoft Excel courses and you can take an exam at the end of that And that gives you something you can put on your resume, which makes you stand out from other competitors in the job market. I also mentioned this in part one as well, how I had all those extra accreditations from short courses for my personal trainer resume. This was something I got an actual certificate for, so I could physically put evidence on my resume, which makes me stand out from others. When I was at Good Life, you had your name and your face on this little board of personal trainers there, and it had all your qualifications listed as well. This is what I mean by paying for a course that makes you stand out in this way. If you pay for any general online course sold by an influencer, there's no actual specific certificate or accreditation you can put on your resume. Only pay for it if it can bump up your resume. Otherwise, chances are the information is available for free on the internet somewhere else. Now, still on the topic of my personal trainer qualifications, quite a lot of these you could literally find on the internet for free. You'd have to dig through and filter through a lot of bullshit first, but when you spend enough time in the industry like I have, you get a knack for where to look first. The same thing happened with me when I was getting into the financial markets. However, I did these because I got specific accreditations I could put on my resume. I didn't pay for these for the info. Well, I mean, the info certainly helped, but a bit of online digging would have gotten the same info. To circle back to the point, I'm not a fan of paying for online courses. I find it shady and they're only providing basic information. Even paying for financial or nutritional information isn't worth it in my eyes, despite the fact that these require a lot more intelligence than most other courses you'll see being sold. But I digress yet again. Most of these YouTubers are telling you that investing in a business is hands down the best investment. But again, what are the chances it'll pay off? I know an investment in a career will pay off because I can literally see the jobs in demand on job websites and the government statistics that show the further demand for that skill set in the future, which I have mentioned previously. In terms of a business, yes, there is a demand for certain content, but what are the chances your business will eventually generate more income than a standard job or a career? They're quite low. I know it sounds pessimistic, but again, it's not pessimistic, it's realistic, which is why I've always talked about doing a business or brand or whatever on the side of a job or career. Yes, I know that means you have a lot less time to devote to it, but it also means you have something stable to fall back on. For every successful self-improvement YouTuber you see out there, there's 1,000 other channels that didn't go anywhere because they were essentially recycling the same content and competing with the bigger channels for that same audience, despite putting out a watered down version of the same content that the bigger channels were already putting out. This also circles back to this segment from Dan Coe. In business, everyone is giving out this advice. People take it as the gospel, they implement it, and they get wrecked. Young guys don't pursue a trade or higher education because they decide they want to become a YouTuber, because that's what other self-improvement YouTubers have told them. They basically rehash the same content that the other guys have put out. They have no unique spin on that topic, and because of that, they just don't get enough growth to sustain a lifestyle, and now they're in a worse spot than if they had just pursued the standard career path. I keep belaboring the point, but let's recap. Investing in a business can provide a better return on investment than a career or stocks or real estate, which is something I'll touch on in part 4, but it's much less stable, secure, and guaranteed than the others. Why not just do this on the side of your other investment strategies? Be wary of when self-improvement YouTubers tell you that a good business idea is making your own self-improvement YouTube channel. I am kinda doing the same thing, but unlike the others, I can actually help you with a career, like how you build a resume, perform in job interviews, even which career path to actually take. I can help you with investing in stocks and shit. I actually provide scientifically backed nutritional recommendations and exercises based on human anatomy, and gym recommendations based on someone with a sedentary office job, like I work Monday to Friday, or a more active job, like my one on Saturday to Sunday. I also provide an example of working 2 jobs and even which second job to try and gun for. Again, another unique spin on my channel. Imagine if I stopped all of that and just talked about mindset and nofap all the time. Yes, it can be helpful for others, but then what differentiates me from everyone else? Nothing, that's what. Dan Coe actually mentions this here.
People that are trying to start a business, what skill they learn or what business model they choose, they're all viable, but they take a different skill set and they lead people down a different path.
There are many good careers out there, but they are unique in their own way. Much the same, businesses are all unique and have their own niche. As far as I'm aware, I am the only channel that actually talks about a career, stock market investing, and the gym rat life in more intricate details. What I mean by this is I've seen career channels before. They talk about how they got their job, what's involved in their work, but they may only passively talk about how they put $200 into the stock market each month. They never talk about macroeconomic factors or individual stocks, for example. They also may have a day in the life video where they have a short clip of them working out, but they never talk about the reasons for their exercise selection or why they eat what foods they eat. Conversely, fitness YouTubers will go into these sort of intricate details, but they don't talk about your traditional careers since, well, they don't have one. Their career isn't a career, it's a business. And they also never talk about stocks at all. The closest I've seen is Joe Delaney, one of my most favorite fitness influencers and my most favorite around 2017 to 2018. But he made a separate channel for this, and although it was good information, it was very basic level stuff. Not a knock on him by any means. What I am saying is I don't see any other channels delving into the weeds on all of these topics the way I do. This is what makes me unique. I know that a video talking about how to talk to women or the top 3 things keeping young men weak would probably fare better in the algorithm, but I'm sure you've seen this type of stuff pop up before. I prefer to have more niche, actionable videos rather than more motivational types, as eventually you get to a point where you don't need motivation anymore. It becomes an automatic habit. I know the investment-related videos don't do as well, but even if they help a few people out and inform them of the state of the economy, or even what stocks to look at or avoid, that's what will help set me apart from others in their eyes. Now, if you guys do know of any other channels that have a similar theme to me, of delving into the weeds and giving out actionable information, please let me know in the comments. I have legitimately never seen any of these types of channels before. I'd love to check them out and support them.
Like I always say with the one-person business model, is that your brand is your goal in life, right? So if my goal is just the good life or financial freedom or something big and broad like that, my unique path is what makes my brand unique, right? How I'm going to achieve that goal is going to be vastly different, vastly unique. My story is going to be my brand. It's going to be what separates me from everyone else. And it allows me to create my own personal monopoly or mental monopoly, as we'll talk about in the next video.
That's why online brand is its own stat. And in terms of my unique path, I made so many damn mistakes over the years, and although it has set me way back, it was a good learning path and it provides a unique spin on this brand. Plus, barely anyone has a perfect path up in life. And although it does annoy me that I could have been much further in life right now, at least I am on the right track at the moment. Well, not at the moment. I'm on the right track going forward.
But just school curriculums in general can't keep up with the creator economy, who are giving out, they're educating people on how to do their own thing and not get trained into the conventional employment system that the school is directly tied with.
A classic shot at the standard career path from a YouTuber. Now, this is by no means a dig at Dan Koh. I have heard so many others say this, but the fact of the matter is, careers are needed. Imagine if everyone became YouTubers. A lot of these businesses would get ruined by the IRS or the ATO or whoever because they'd have no accountants around to sort out their financial reports to fit in with legal regulations. When these YouTubers would sue each other for whatever reason, no one would be able to find any lawyers to defend themselves. Whenever their water system broke, they'd have no plumbers to call to fix it. When they want to go and build a house with all their newfound money, there would be no builders around to build the house. I do understand if you just don't know any career paths that you'd actually like to do, and if you want to become a YouTuber or whatever as your career, then that's all good, but you need to consider the longevity, stability, and likelihood of success. Again, circling back to investments, going tens of thousands into debt for a useful degree is guaranteed to provide you a better return on your money, rather than the uncertain nature of starting your own business. Here's a segment from another self-improvement YouTuber, Denmo.
All of a sudden, girls are going to start doubting you. They're going to be kind of embarrassed when they bring you up at parties. Like, what does he do? Is he still trying to be a rapper? Like, yeah, he's still doing the music, right? That's embarrassing for them. It lowers their status. They want a guy where it's like, yeah, no, he's an accountant, or oh, he's a lawyer, he's an engineer. Yeah.
I like how accounting was the first option he used when he talked about impressive career paths. Shucks. But again, a career is a much better investment than what many others will lead you to believe. And if you're one of those people who are into impressing women and whatnot, obviously I kind of am, but it's not like I go out clubbing constantly to try to pick up women or anything. Like, I'm literally not even on Tinder or anything. I'm fully on the Sigma grind. But I assure you, a lot of them will be impressed by having a nice career. So if you wanted another reason to go into a proper career rather than a business, then that's your motivation. And again, like I've said before, just do both. A career will keep stability in your life and keep you supported, and then the business can be where you achieve your exponential growth.
Or thing that makes you enough money to live the life that you want to. Now, this is something you should pursue when you have free time, after you're done your schoolwork, after you're done working your part-time job to support yourself.
There you go. You need that stable source of income. Unless you can somehow make money, let alone profit, from your business from day one, which I doubt you will need a source of income. Some people are fortunate enough to just live off their parents, but for the rest of us in the real world, we need to go out and earn it via a wage/salary, exchanging labor hours for money. So do your business, aka the risky source of income, outside the hours you spend on a stable income. I have mentioned this over and over on this channel before. So that section from Denmo was short and sweet, but there isn't anything else noteworthy to react to. His vids I watched were more on the motivational/perspective side of things. Our last YouTuber we will react to is a lesser known channel, Jack Duffley. I found him in the comments section of some other finance YouTuber. I liked how he actually has a career, something you don't see very often in this YouTube space. Let's see what he has to say.
This really comes down to what I like to call offense versus defense in finance. Defense would refer to investing in things like real estate and stocks and more defensive sorts of assets that maybe produce some cash flow, but really are more about wealth preservation. And you might even get great returns, but most of the time these investments really aren't going to produce a ton until you have a very large portfolio.
This is a new way to look at it. Never considered an offense versus defense in terms of investing, but it makes sense. I'll touch on this in the recap in part 4, but each of these investments has their own place in your life. They each have a possibility of return on your money, and they also have a potential ceiling on the money you could make.
A 7% gain in a year on $10,000 is $700, and yes, that will compound over time, but we're really not talking about a ton until you get to a much larger portfolio. So that's why, for now, I'd rather focus more on the offensive side of things, and that's driving new income, so that I then can invest it into more defensive assets.
So I touched on this in another video a while ago, can't remember which one, but investing in the stock market won't make you rich since it's only a percentage increase of your initial investment. If you make 20% in 1 year, that's a fantastic outcome, but if you only invested $100, this is only $20 you made. If you invested $100,000, this is a return of $20,000, which isn't bad for a more passive source of income. Now, 20% annual returns is great for the stock market. Yeah, I make 20% trades often, but I can also make much larger losses. So if I manage to close the year up 20%, that's a phenomenal effort. But you can get much better returns with a business. And in terms of real estate, your percentage return is probably lower, but since you need a much larger amount to get into real estate in the first place, your returns look a lot larger than what you'd have in the stock market. But again, I'll touch on this in the recap.
Right now, pretty much what happens is I get money from my job and then it immediately vaporizes and goes into investments or paying down some debt, but it really doesn't move the needle in a big way. I want to get to the point where it's actually difficult to place money in a given month to where it then might make sense to focus more on defense. For example, if I'm bringing in $10,000 a month, that's going to be really easy to reinvest into a business to try and drive growth. But if I'm bringing in $100,000 a month, it might be much harder. In the case of a simple service business, we'll say a cleaning business, if I wanted to try and reinvest $100,000 back into the business, that would probably involve buying a ton of equipment and hiring a ton of employees, and it would be very difficult to actually find a place for that money. So that's when I'd look to invest more defensively with that excess cash that might not be able to be easily invested back into the business.
So this is something that Hamza mentioned. Once you've maxed out the possible returns you can get from a certain investment, that's when you move your money towards another investment. Like Jack said, it gets to a point where investing more money into your business would be hard, like you'd run out of worthwhile investments. So that's when you put your money elsewhere. I'll use an example of my bank accounts. My main savings bank is the Bank of Queensland, a state here in Australia. I literally live in Victoria, but you can just open an account online in like 5 minutes. I just searched around for the highest interest rates around. It was a 2-minute Google search, and now I'm getting a much better return on my money. So at the time of recording, Bank of Queensland is offering a 4.75% savings rate up to $50,000. Any money above this $50,000 has a reduced savings rate of like 2.8% or something. I don't know what it is because I keep $50,000 in this particular savings account only. My excess cash goes to ING, another bank here in Australia. This bank is strictly online, and again, I found this via a quick search. Their current max savings rate is 4.55%, the second highest in Australia. Their cap is around $100,000, from which the savings rate decreases from there, much the same with the Bank of Queensland. What I am doing here is I am maximizing my investment in the Bank of Queensland, and once I have maxed that out, I am putting my extra money into another investment that yields a better return. Instead of having $60,000 in the Bank of Queensland with $10,000 of that receiving a lower return, I'm using that $10,000 extra to put into another bank account that provides a better return for that $10,000 than what the Bank of Queensland could provide. This same analogy applies with different investment avenues. Maybe $50,000 is the best investment you could make into a business before the money could be better utilized elsewhere. But again, this is something I will delve deep into in part 4. So, that wraps up part 3 of this series. In part 4, I will be putting all of this together, and we will be going really deep into career as an investment, the stock market as an investment, our business as an investment, and real estate as an investment. And by the end of that, you will see that each of these has their own place. I will see you then.